Hello and welcome to interest.co.nz. I'm Gareth Vaughan with another of our double shot interviews, and I'm joined by Bruce McLachlan, who's the Chief Executive of the Co-operative Bank. Welcome in, Bruce. Good to see you again.
Yes, nice to be back.
Now, we're here today to talk about the Co-operative Bank's first foray into the credit card market. You're launching what you're terming a fair rate credit card. What is a fair rate credit card?
Well, I think most of your readers and watchers here will know that probably credit card is the one part of the banking market that would appear to have the least competition. It's where, in our view, interest rates and fees have been ridiculously high for too long, and we don't believe there's any current category of cards that actually cater for what the real needs of a lot of New Zealanders are. So we are trying to create a new category. It's obviously most likened to the low rate category, but we think the low rate category, too much of it is still the fees and rates are too high. So we're trying to launch a new category.
And you're coming in with a 12.95% interest rate. This is for purchases and cash advances. That's correct?
Yeah, so look, probably the biggest change from credit card market overall is the fact that what we really don't like is the fact that consumers get hit with a completely different interest rate and in our view an exorbitant interest rate should they choose to access their line of credit for anything other than a purchase. So the fact that most banks would charge you $22.95 or more to use your limit we think is ridiculous, and so we don't see this justification for having a different rate for purchases than it is from accessing your credit limit for other reasons. So that's quite a change in this market.
And what are your fees going to be?
So look, it's again fair, we hope. So there's two things. Our annual card fee will be $20, which up till recently far and away the lowest in that market. But also importantly, there is no over limit fee. So one of the things we also think that's unfair is the fact when consumers seek to spend over their limit, banks allow them to access that and make a conscious decision to allow them to do that, but then charge a large fee. And we don't think that again, is fair. So there is no over limit fee on the card.
And what about loyalty schemes? Are you going to be joining a loyalty scheme with this credit card? Are customers of your card going to be able to be in loyalty schemes? Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, we're really wanting to spark a debate about loyalty because we honestly think when people think credit cards, they often think interest-free days and loyalty. And that's totally wrong because actually what they should be thinking is the interest rate they're paying. And the reason for that is 2/3 of all spend put on credit cards end up incurring interest. And the interest on average they end up incurring at the moment is 18%, which is ridiculously high. So we can't understand why there's all this focus on loyalty. The average spend on a credit card is about $12,000 a year. And at that spend and below, the annual fee that people are being charged is greater than the benefit they get off most loyalty schemes. So we don't know why there's such of a focus amongst consumers on loyalty. Most of them really are not worth it. The focus should be on interest and the interest cost, and that's why our whole package is to try and shift the debate. And it's a debate that has to be had because New Zealanders are focusing on the wrong thing when it comes to credit cards.
So your proposition is very much look at the interest rate and the fees, add them together, compare them to anything you might get for loyalty, and what you're saying is the Co-operative Bank credit card is going to offer people a better deal than what they're getting elsewhere.
Well, we think it's going to be a significantly better deal, but I would say there's one step you missed out that consumers need to do. And the first thing is be honest with themselves. Because many New Zealanders say, and they've convinced themselves that they pay their card back at the end of each month. But the facts prove otherwise. The facts prove 2/3 of their spend ends up incurring interest charges. So I think there's a reality check here for people to have around themselves and their own behaviour, and then make a judgment whether is that focus on loyalty the right thing, and actually they should be focusing on their interest costs.
Now, you do mention those interest rates that a lot of banks are charging on credit cards. 20% is not unusual. I mean, can that be justified in our low interest rate world?
We don't believe so. look, I think when you look at what's happened to nominal interest rates in New Zealand over the last 5 years, 6, 7 years, and you look at what the level of credit card interest rates were then and where they are today, it seems to us to be very hard to justify rates where they are. And I think there is pretty good profits being made in the industry in this product category.
Well, indeed. I mean, a report I looked at recently described New Zealand as one of the world's most profitable credit card markets. We've got the government currently looking at possibility of regulating retail payments. I think they're particularly looking at interchange fees, perhaps also merchant service fees. Do you think the government needs to step in there? Do you think it's an area that needs regulating?
Look, my view is I think it could be focusing again, not necessarily on the right thing. There's pros and cons in both, and I think you can look in the markets have been regulated in saying actually overall our consumers better off in those markets, and I don't believe that I've seen evidence that they necessarily are. But I think it becomes very difficult to justify interchange where it is in New Zealand when you look at it against other countries. So I think it's going to be an interesting debate. We're going into this and saying pretty much interchange funds a lot of the loyalty programs that are attached to other cards. So I think it would be risky going in and launching new loyalty at the moment because there is a risk that interchange does get regulated. So we've kind of taken that out of play with what we're doing. And in any instance, we think the debate needs to be elsewhere rather than on that matter. Yeah.
You mentioned that in New Zealand, as consumers should be honest with themselves about whether they're actually repaying their credit card every month or not. What is your sort of, I guess, summation on the relationship New Zealanders have with their credit cards, and is your part of your proposition perhaps trying to improve that?
Well, look, they're a brilliant product, credit cards. I mean, I couldn't live without one myself, so they're a brilliant product and used correctly. And so I don't think there's any issue about that. I think the fact that there's 2.5 million or circa 2.5 million credit cards out there, I think demonstrates that the core proposition of a credit card is extremely powerful and of great use to consumers. So I think the average spend is around $12,000 a year, which is $1,000 a month. So it's a significant vehicle that's used to help people kind of live their daily lives. So I think there's a strong relationship, and I think that's going to stay. And I think what we've got to do is get the economics around that relationship way better than what it is today.
And with a credit card coming to the Co-operative Bank, do you anticipate that this is going to attract a lot of new customers to your bank?
We'd like to think so. Look, our first need that we're looking to fulfil is our existing customers who have been kind of screaming out for a credit card. They love the service they get from us, and they really want and need a credit card. But we know we've come up with such a strong proposition here that, to be frank, I think the decision for most people is going to be pretty clear. If they're honest with themselves with how they use their credit card and the amount that they're paying, so the amount that is costing them, that there is a significantly better choice there for them. So we expect that many New Zealanders will take that up. But I couldn't tell you today how many. We're going to watch this really with great interest over coming months. Yeah.
Well, look, thanks a lot for that, Bruce. That's Bruce McLachlan, who's the Chief Executive of the Co-operative Bank, and I'm Gareth Vaughan at interest.co.nz.